Yo, you gotta save the Terps, bro. It's all about the cure. Have you guys ever heard someone say that at least once? I know I sure have. And it's probably because it's pretty much true. Curing and storing is super important. And in today's episode, we're gonna break down the cure and the store. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. The first part was all about drying. So if you guys want to find out more about drying in particular, then definitely check that out. But today's all about the cure and the store. Because you can perfect the dry, but you can mess up in the cure and the store. We all know quality flour is the best flour, but what actually makes up really nice, tasty, superior flour? A lot of people will say genetics, and yeah, genetics is absolutely one. But regardless of whatever cultivar or strain you're running, the main focus for most growers out there is that good old cure, baby. Now, the curing process prepares the flour for the final stage of its life. Human consumption by us, man. What else is there to talk about? And the cure also allows the flours to fully develop their unique chemical profiles, leading to higher potency of therapeutic cannabinoids and terpenes. I actually seen a quote recently. In the words of Kenneth Morrow, a famous award-winning grove breeder and writer, drying and curing properly is an art in itself. Similar to a tobacco farmer who grows tobacco for the finest hand-rolled cigars, gives the highest level of care and attention to detail when drying and curing, which sets the stage for the final product. So should we as canna growers. Come on! Now, depending on what you use to cure can vary depending on who you ask. You can ask a bunch of different people. Some people use glass, some people use grove bags, some people use turkey bags, some people use metal containers, some people even use plastic, other types of materials. I literally got homies who just ziplock it and cure up in that. And for everyone, the desired moisture levels and curing times may vary. But one thing that usually runs consistent is that you want the environment to be at least dark and carefully controlled as much as possible to avoid any issues, the degradation of terpene THC content, but you do want to get the highest quality and most consistent product. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Ican Organics and the Ican VIP Bean Club. If you guys are looking for some easy organic solutions to home gardening, Ican Veg Pack and Ican Flower Power got you guys covered. These are all organic amendments, and they got some mycorrhizae and beneficial bacteria in there to help your plants and push them through flower. And if you guys are looking for fire genetics, the Ican VIP Bean Club got you guys covered. We always got that dank going out to all VIPs, and we got some exclusive crosses coming up for the next drop. And the old page got taken down, so if you guys aren't up on the new page, make sure you guys join up so you guys are in for that new job. I know some of you guys are growing that fire, and speaking of that fire, curing is an important step to growing that fire. But what exactly does curing do, Matt? Well, the drying and curing process together actually lock in a lot of active phytochemicals, cause your flowers to become a lot more fragrant and potent. Given the correct timing and environmental conditions, the result is similar to like the ripening of fruit. You guys know I love analogies. Think of a fruit ripening to perfection. Well-cured flowers provide the most flavorful, but also increase psychoactive and body effects. On a chemical level, curing plays a significant role in transforming raw plant material into a finished product, as opposed to just drying and packing the raw flower into there, right? It's like aging with fine wine over time. It gets a little bit better with the longer the cure. Now, you may be asking why. What's so special about curing? Well, curing actually breaks down the chlorophyll to dramatically improve the taste and the smoothness of your flower. A lot of times, if you just pull something off the plant, try to roll it up and consume it, it'll taste really chlorophyll. If you dry it for a little bit, it'll taste a little bit better. But if you give it a dry and a cure, then now we're talking. We got some really tasty and smooth. Nice. So the curing really reduces the harshness when it comes to consumption time. It eliminates a lot of that fresh hay, the fresh grass cut smell, and that's really common in a new harvest. But over time, it goes away. Now, if you completely ruin the dry, you're not going to bring back a lot of those terps during the cure. So check out the dry video that I did so you guys don't ruin the dry. Because if you ruin that dry, you can jar this up for months and months and it ain't going to get no better. That aged wine ain't going to get better. It's just gonna be the same boof it was when you put it in that jar. Now, some people do report that properly cured flour does give them a little bit less of a cough or a bark, and they experience less headaches after consuming properly cured flour in comparison to not properly cured flour. Now, I've had instances where I've tried to consume from flour that was a little bit wet. Like when I was living back in the Caribbean and you used to have to get your stuff from dealers and stuff like that. Sometimes they will just rush the stuff out to you because they want to get it so, right? And when you get it, it can be a little bit wet. You can feel it and you'll be like, man, this is wet, this is a little bit moist. And back then, I don't know if it's a rumor, but people say if you token some wet flour, you'll actually cause your lungs to bleed. Like, I don't know how true that is, but that's what we heard back in the day, because wet flour is something that was kind of like, it was a thing. Now, speaking of safe for consumption, curing at an optimal moisture level also reduces the chance for mold and any bacteria to grow on your flowers, and that makes it a lot safer for consumption. So now you know why you cure. What exactly is it? Well, it's a pretty simple process. After dry, you just pretty much cut your flowers and drop it into a jar, or you drop it into a grove bag, anything like that. Now after you dry and you put it into those airtight containers, the flower still does require a little bit of air circulation to regulate humidity and oxygen while within that container. So every so often the container's got to be burped. All you got to do is open, let some air circulation get in and out of there, waft around the room. It smells so damn good, bro. Jesus. This banoffee pie is ridiculous, bro. Guys, the icanthc banoffee pie head, crazy. icanthc VIP Bean Club, you guys know. You guys got a special code that you guys can use for that. And also the icanthc gang is pretty fire too. But yeah, you gotta burp those jars, baby. That lets the gas out and lets some fresh oxygen in. For me, I burp every so often, about the first week or so when it comes to the cure. What that does is actually fine-tune the humidity levels and prevent any over-drying in the flower. Or it prevents any moisture from locking inside of there, because sometimes your flower is too moist before you put it into the jars, and that's a big no-no. Don't do that. Make sure it's properly dry before you put it into jars. If not, you just get some bacteria growing in your jars, and you don't want that to happen. With grow bags and certain two-way humidity products like Bovida and stuff like that, you don't actually need to do a lot of burping, but for me, I still like to burp, and sometimes I still like the good old jars. The grow bags are pretty dope, and I got a bunch of them myself. The cure and the store go hand in hand, and you can store in the bags, you can store in the jars. You want to make sure that it's airtight. Your container's got to be airtight. That actually allows the internal chemical processes in your flower to continue maturing in the flower to the perfect extent that you want it to be. Some parts of the world, folks actually cure flowers for several months, and that aging process results in a developed product preferred for consumption for them. Now, there are a lot of options out there when it comes to storage. I mentioned steel containers, turkey bags, all sorts of stuff, Ziploc bags and everything. But the main thing, just make sure it's airtight. Just remember, the container that you choose is not as important as what happens inside the container. You want to make sure that all the internal chemical processes are continuing maturing to perfection. Now, for the cure and store, you want to make sure it's in a dark place. That's why some people even go with dark jars, like blacked out jars. But for me, I just go with regular jars and put them in a cupboard. Keep that away from light, baby. ASTM International furthermore suggests that all flowers should be stored at a water activity AW level of about 0.55 and 0.65. So you don't want it to be bone dry, but you don't want to be filled with moisture, right? It's pretty interesting to the levels that these things can go, like water activity level. I never even knew that was a thing before I did the research for this episode. But apparently by maintaining a good AW level throughout the entire supply chain, from drying all the way through merchandising, safety, quality, and all that stuff, in commercial setups, it makes it safe for the consumer. But for us homegrowers who are just curing and storing, you want to aim for an RH of around 55% to 65% RH. That maximizes the potency of efficacy, flavor, aroma, and taste of your flower, and you can realize the results of all your hard work. Science has actually shown that when flowers store within these proper humidity levels, flower can achieve up to 15% more terpene retention. Again, you want to save the terps. You don't want to lose the terps, guys. So once you dial in all these things, you can create a perfect environment for curing and storing, preferably in a place where you can easily control light and temperature, and also maintain that RH, just so that you get the best flower possible. And just make sure to avoid any containers that are not airtight. That'll make it really hard to regulate that air and humidity. You want it to be airtight. Screw off containers work good for me, and some of those click open ones work decent as well. If you're in a real pinch and you got some super over dry flower, you can use things like excess fan leaves, toss in a jar, and that could bring the RH up and rehydrate those flowers. But for the most part, you don't want to be doing that. You just want to achieve perfection off the bat. Stay away from using things like orange peels, apples, lettuce, bread, tortillas, all those things. If you got some flour you want to experiment with, that's fine, but if you're trying to get the perfect flour possible when it comes to taste, smell, all that stuff, then I would stay away from that. There are instances where those things can promote mold and bacteria within your container. So even if you are using it to rehydrate your flour, then you gotta keep an eye on it. Sometimes it can just affect the flavor of your flour and the taste of your flour. All of a sudden your shit smells like orange peel or some rotten apple, which is not bad if it's a strain, but not if it's an actual rotten apple. Stupid! Right? Yo fam, before I forget, some people will probably ask about those two-way humidity packs, integral packs, Bovida packs, all those packs. For me, I don't usually use them. Some people say they steal terps, some people say they take away your flavor from your flower. For me, I only use it if I'm doing extremely long-term storage, and I ain't gonna consume the flower for 5-6 months out maybe, but for the most part I don't usually cure all that long. I have cured up to a year, but for the most part I like to hit the 2-month mark. So about that 2-month mark I probably won't be using the Bovida packs, but if I was using it, like our homie Rasta Jeff said, he was entering some submissions into the DGC Cup, which is like 3 or 4 months away. So in that situation he may use some of the Bovida packs, so they may have a place in your arsenal, but I don't always use it. I just want to get that one in real quick. So all that said, drying and curing your flower might appear difficult at first, and it surely involves some level of trial and error, but don't overstress, guys. While proper drying is really vital to avoid mold, curing is more about personal preferences than hard science. Some people don't even cure at all. Some people go straight from the dry and straight to consumption. Me, I love a good old cure. I cure for at least 2 months minimum before I consume my flower. Sometimes the longer the better. I've sampled flower that I've cured myself for at least a year, and it was like really nice. It got a little darker in terms of the color, but it was really terpy and really tasty. Drop it in the comments down below and let me know what you guys do when it comes to curing. Do you guys cure at all? If you guys do, how long do you guys do it for? Are you like a 2-week guy or a 2-day guy? Or are you maybe a 2-month or a 2-year guy? People out there cure at different times and different lengths, but I just want to find out what you guys do. So drop it in the comments down below and let me know. Don't forget to join up with the icanthc VIP Bean Club, man. We got some fire genetics. Mailbox about to be burning down. I don't want you guys to miss out on that next drop. And if you guys want to find out more about growing that fire, then definitely check out any episode on screen right now. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, fam.